and the Nun II, serving scares straight from the altar. But beyond those hits, Akela and I are actually building something very special together. She's writing a film, and we're doing it with Universal. And let me tell you, the way her mind works, I had the opportunity of reading drafts and talking to her. Um, Pure brilliance, and also a fellow Midwestern. I'm from Kansas City, the Missourian in the house. The mastermind of mayhem herself, Akela Cooper. And also a USC graduate. Yes, Akela, what's up?
Hello.
Do we need to drink a bottle?
You need water,
So
so
I need one.
Well, you do that. I have wanted to say this for like a while, but one of the most beautiful things about this for me is that roughly 20 years ago, I was where you all were. So
That is insane. I meant every word. I hope you got to hear me
I
when I
thank
said
you.
that.
It's lovely.
Your perspective on the genre and genres and just what you're doing in the film space is really inspiring me to just sort of talk to you. And our team has spoken with you as well numerous of times. And I just wanted to start by like, what were some of your favorite villainous characters that you remember early on that you liked or that you felt like to kind of still walk in the back of your brain as you're creating and writing things?
Oh, I think for me, like the top one would be Freddy Krueger. That was one of the first ones that I saw, and I am a monster person. I prefer the monster usually over like the slasher or whatever. But I guess you can't really call monsters villains because they're just doing what instinctively they need to do. Though going along with like late 80s, early 90s horror, I will say one that made an impression was Cynthia Bond in a movie called Death by Temptation, which is like an indie black horror film that had Ernest Dickerson as its cinematographer, um, and Kadeem Hardison. Cynthia Bond played a succubus, and it was one of the first movies where I was like, oh, it's black people and there's a black female villain. And that was kind of cool. And then probably the biggest influence on me would be Billy Zane in Tales from the Crypt Presents Demon Knight.
Oh, wow. Let's be specific. Wow. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. Those are all great. I need to check out the second film. Would you say the name
Death
was?
by DEF.
Oh,
Death by Temptation.
got it.
Very, very low budget, but it's got Kadeem Hardison, Bill Nutt, and Samuel L. Jackson.
I love. We love Sam. Akela, you've given us Malignant, Megan, the Nun II. Each one so different, so wild, so much fun. Take us back for a minute growing up in Southeast Missouri, middle school, maybe college. What pulled you toward the genre? When did you say, I'm not about to go do comedy right now. I'm not going to go try and do.
Right behind corners and like jump out at her, until one day she was like, "You're gonna give me a heart attack," and I'm like,
No, no.
"Oh, like, well, I don't want to kill you. I do just want to scare you." But she encouraged me to like start writing down, the things that were in my head, and a lot of it was science fiction and horror. So it was just I was always on this path.
I love that. I love it. Um, I spoke to you, and I was very fascinated by your love for mythology.
Yes.
Mythology plays such a big role in horror and mystery. And so, how have mythology, comic books, or other fantasy writing influenced your storytelling? What was that book or books, or what was that myth?
I am a huge fan of Greek mythology, as you
Yeah.
well know, and it was just like the chaos of the stories, and honestly how like we get the sanitized versions, but at a certain point I got like the adult versions of like everything that was going on with the Greek gods, and it was just like this incredible way of telling stories when you realize that like they were reflective of human nature. It's like, especially with the Greek gods, like all of them are basically assholes for the most part. And a lot of them, it's like they're petty, they're jealous, it's like all of the worst impulses, and you realize it's like, oh, this was, the Greeks' way of like channeling. It's like, how do we explain this? It's like, oh, we'll put it in a god. And then it'll make sense some way, somehow. But I just always love that narrative, like that way of taking human nature and then like giving it to something else to reflect the story back.
Yeah, I love that. We would love to hear about your rituals, i.e., process when you're writing. Everybody has their thing. There are some people that just go, you don't talk to them for a year and they go away, or they have to get up at 4 in the morning to write. It's hard for them to write after 6 a.m. How do you shut out the noise, center yourself, and really lock in?
It's just become a discipline at this point, and like starting at USC with some really great professors. Shout out to Don Bollinger, Dave Weber, especially. Just helping me because by coming here, I had really no idea how scripts were supposed to be written and like the structure and all of that, and so that was great. I remember when I came here, I did not like outlining. Period. Like I would really just do like a beat sheet, and then my professors would, "You need to outline." I'm like, "No, I don't," and I would still produce scripts. However, once I started working in television, you have to outline, like you have to give the network and the studio an outline. So I had to learn how to do that, and I learned to appreciate what the outline can bring, especially as I'm trying to think. And so I started incorporating writing outlines when I was doing features. But for me, it's essentially once I have the general nugget of the idea, I'll just like sit on it and let it, like I don't want to say fester, but I guess for you in this costume, fester is kind of,
Yeah, it makes sense.
yeah, it's a good word.
Yeah.
It's like I plant a little mental plant and like watch it grow, and then once I have the plant, once I have the ending, that is, I'm very particular about that. I cannot write if I don't know what I'm writing to. So once I have the ending, it doesn't even matter if I don't have a beginning. I can come up with that, but like I have to know where I'm going.
Yeah, that's so that's so comforting to hear you say that. Because I'm writing something and I have how it's gonna end. I know the twist, but it's that moment right before the twist that I don't have, and I have like how I want it to open, but I think that is driving me to keep going with the idea because I know how it's gonna end.
Yeah.
And I think that that's such a life lesson. Like it's when you're thinking about your goals, like when we're all thinking about, well, where do we see ourselves? I see myself on this stage in this outfit with this audience. And so you do the rehearsal, do the vocal warm-ups, and even with albums, that's the approach. Like I know how I feel after they've had the experience of listening to this album or going to this performance. So I love that that drives you, and then you kind of put everything else into place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I get that, and I don't hear a lot of people talk about moving in that way. Um, we would love to hear about how horror is such a flexible, like a formatted. I don't know. It could be very flexible. It could be wild, campy, as I mentioned, hilarious. It could carry deep social messaging. So we'd love to hear, how do you decide which tone to lean into when you're writing a story?
Really, I am the story tells me what it wants to be. Like, and like you've written songs, you've written like scripts. It's just like at some point you will surprise yourself, and I'm sure all of you who are writers in the program will be like, oh, like something will just pop into your head. It's like I didn't. Okay, but like I am a firm believer that the story tells you what it is. I don't necessarily write straight towards anything. It's like this is the story that I want to tell. Sometimes it'll have humor, sometimes it'll have camp. I'm writing a horror movie now. Hopefully that will come out at some point. That's just a straight up 50-50 horror comedy. And I knew that going in. And so I have my, comedic relief character who is, doing the heavy lifting of like making sure the comedy is where it needs to be. But I knew that going in.
Yeah.
That that's what it was going to be. With Megan, I wrote a straight horror film. There was absolutely no camp to what I wrote. Like that was incorporated in throughout production. Like there was humor in it, but it was like everyone thinks it's like, oh, how did you write like just the camp? I'm like, you can't really write the camp. Like camp is. So yeah, I even with Malignant that became like super. I didn't write it. It's like Act 3 is like super fucking. It's like this is what happens. She just starts murdering people in very increasingly violent ways.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes so much sense. And I think you kind of, when you said you brought someone in who specializes in comedy, like when you
the character.
Yeah, when you're writing with the character, do you have a list of folks you're like, I wanted to have a hint of this and this? Take a look. Am I hitting the mark?
No, I haven't brought any of my like comedian friends in to read it just yet, but like I know what I find funny. Hopefully that will translate. But I did write with a specific actor's voice in mind, and so that helped me craft the dialogue.
Got it.
It's like because I know how that actor would deliver that line. I have been told by my execs it's funny, so we will see.
I love that. What do you think is sort of exciting about the sort of what could come into this genre? What are you looking to see? Obviously, you're a writer. You're writing the things that you want to feel, you want to see. But what do you feel like is missing from horror and thriller stories now that you like to see in the future? What are you excited about seeing?
Originality. I would love for like people to go back to taking risks on new writers and new ideas. It's like you have to replenish the IP well at a certain point. Like we tried with Megan, kind of succeeded there, and Blumhouse was the king of that at a certain point, and now they're just doing like Exorcist and Halloween, which were successful, but it's like you have the opportunity to start new IP and bring in like new horror, especially for Gen Z, which I think like right now a lot of Gen Z and upcoming Gen Alpha are being ignored. They've got Five Nights at Freddy's, but there's far more things out there that we could be doing for that generation
than anybody. Let's talk about what personal failure means to Akela. What do those words mean to you?
It used to mean a lot, especially like when I was starting out. It was like, oh my God, the world is ending. And while I was here, I took a directing class under Nina Foch, who was incredible. She passed away a couple of years ago. But like, she saw me and she was just like, what the fuck are you afraid of? And I'm like, well, failure. She's like, what happens if you fail? Will you die? Like, she's a very, very blunt 90-year-old woman. It's like, you're not going to fucking die. You just get to try again if you fail. It's like, oh. No one had told me that before. I'm just like, oh God, if I fail, then it's over. It's like, no, it's not. And failure can actually help you. Like, it lays a path for what you know not to do next time and how to navigate to do it better the next time. So failure to me is like, all right, that shit happened. Moving on. Like, you take the lessons, you get back up, and you keep going.
Yeah. I love that. Love that. Moments of joy throughout the process, and I think there are moments of joy, there are moments of confusion when you're making art. There are moments of, oh, I hate this thing, what did I do, and you fall in love with it again. It depends on where you are in the process, but I think joy for me is very important, and having the joy with the people I'm making it with also important. So I think my question to you is, how do you keep creating from that place? Is that something that you do want to experience while you're writing, or you're like, that's not important, I just need to get the idea out?
I mean, it really depends. Like, a lot of times when I am working on my own stuff, that is the place of joy. And then sometimes it's like, look, we all have bills to pay. If I don't like what I'm writing to, pay the bills, I will look at, what I have, and it's like, well, this got me that far, and it's going to give me something else. Like, I can now like take my mom to like foreign countries, which like she's always like, I can do that now because I took that shitty job for a paycheck. But like it's like I will have the future joy at some point, and then this will allow me to work on my own stuff in my own time. But also, it's just like in the work there has to be something, a nugget or something that you can find, even if it's like a job to just pay the bills. Where it's like, oh, I like this character, or this is a scene that I'm really looking forward to, writing. But often, even in those moments, I will think back to my 8-year-old self in a very small Missouri town who would like look at airplanes going west and be like, I wonder if they're going to California. I wonder if they're going to LA. That would be so cool. Like, I want to be on a plane going to LA someday.
Yeah.
Like that little girl who dreamed about being here. And I'd be like, you made it.
Yeah.
And like that brings me joy.
Yeah, I love that. So you are not stopping and resting with like what you've done. Your mind is like, okay, I have more to say. I have more to offer. And, being a USC student, can you talk or maybe say a little bit about some of the things, if you were a student here today, what would you tell yourself as you're navigating graduating, or as you're navigating getting a better understanding for who you are as an artist? Like, how would you soothe yourself and ground yourself in moments here when you're in doubt, all the things?
I would say it is going to take time, and you have to allow yourself like that patience. And my mom would be like, who has that? Like, she knows I am not a patient person at all. I have had to learn patience, but it's going to take time, and it's going to take work. Where you are now in your talent, you will not be in 5 years, you will not be in 10 years, and 50. You will get better.